Donald, are you in?
Yeah, Bishop's Tower.
Okay. All right, my question is, can you both see the picture of my granddaughter on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so we're ready to start. All right, this is what I'm going to do today, just so you're aware of everything that's going on. First, I sent this email out this morning. I don't want to read it to you, but I want to hit the highlights. I sent out a Word document, and I'll put it on the screen momentarily. It's a pretest. Now, what is it? It's two of your lab assignments that were originally assigned as console apps. I want you to do those as GUI Windows Forms apps. And then the one homework assignment that we had, that test one, that we did as a Windows Forms app, I want you to do that as a console app. If you can do those successfully, you literally should have no problems tomorrow with the test. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the test. Don't let this throw you. There are 4 problems. Literally, the first problem, they're all console apps. Literally, the first problem is about 1 or 2 lines of code. Literally. Once you create the console app. It's that simple. And that is 25 points. The second 2, numbers 2 and 3, are also very short and fairly simplistic. All right? And you should be able to get those first 3 done, I would guess, in no more than a half an hour or so. The last one isn't hard. It's just a little more lengthy. All right? If you understand, some of the things that we've done as far as how to go and, we did a problem where we had that one where we did with the item that you bought and your name and the tax rate, etc. If you could do that one, you should have no problem. And I'm honest to goodness, I'm not just saying this. It should be fairly simplistic for everybody to do this. Now, yesterday I emailed Mr. Gudmested, who's my partner teaching this at the Rankin Technical College St. Louis campus. He's also the assistant department head. And I said, Evan, what would you recommend I do with tests for people? And I didn't tell him what I thought because I wanted to get his thoughts rather than trying to bias his judgment. He wrote back and said, Jeff, basically you're going to have to give them the test and give them, tell them that you want it back during, sometime during the day. Because I've got at least 1 or 2 people in this class who are working from 6 o'clock in the morning till 2:30 p.m. every day of the week, and I couldn't give the test out at 8 and tell you got to have it back in by noon. That wouldn't be fair to them. They're at work. So for everybody, I'm going to put it out there tomorrow. It will be emailed to you before class starts tomorrow, and it will be due no later than the end of the day tomorrow. So literally 11:59 and 59 seconds. If you don't have it in by then, all right, it will be considered, you get a 0 for it. All right, and hopefully that's not too difficult and everybody understands that. So what I'm going to do as we start today, and this will take about a half an hour, and that is I'm going to go back over the steps for Git and GitHub again. Now, for you guys, I know that's going to bore you, but I want to bring that around and show you again how I set the stuff up underneath Visual Studio. And maybe there's a step that I did yesterday that you missed and it didn't work. Maybe not. All right? But you've got your choice when you're doing this. You can either come into GitHub. So you'll go out to your github.com and you can come in and create a new repository, and you can actually create 4 of them. One of them you would call your last name, so like I would say Scott hyphen AWD1100 written tests. So that would be the one, that would be where you would put your written tests. All right, so I'm just going to create that. All righty, and later I'll show you how to work with it. So that's that one. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to create another one. So I'm going to create a second one here. All right? So another new repository, and I will call this Scott-AWD1100 Labs. Oops, Labs. And again, all right, I'm making them public. Yours should be private, so I should have really done the first one private as well. So you should make them all private and click Create Repository. Now there's two of them. All right, then I'm going to come in and create a third one. So again, I'll come in here and new repository, and again, Scott-AWD1100, and then we've already got one for written tests and one for labs, so now we can make the homework. And again, should be private. Click Create Repository, and then finally one more. So you will come in here and say your last name -AWD1100 HOTS. HOTS is short for hands-on tests. All right, again, you'll make that private. You'll click Create Repository. What that means is you will now have 4 different repositories out there. All right, the next thing that you will have to do is go in, if you're going to do it this way, which is totally fine. If you're going to do it this way, then what you'll do is you'll come up to your desktop or wherever you've been saving this stuff. You will right mouse click and create 4 folders. Try it again, Scott-AWD1100 written tests. I think I spelled written wrong, so let me fix that. WRITTEN. So that'll be the first one that you create. Then you'll come in and create another one. And it'll be Scott, again, not Scott, your last name, AWD1100, and it'll be Labs. Then you will create a third one with your last name -AWD1100 homework. And finally, you'll create one more, your last name -AWD1100 HOTS. These names here, this name that you see right here in blue, this name that you see here in blue, this name that you see here in blue, and this name that you see here in blue, those 4 names, those 4 things should be exactly the same names as the ones that you used when you created the repositories. All right, I can always go back here to my home page. All right, and I can double check under repositories. So you'll see I've got these: Scott AWD HOTS, Scott AWD Homework, Scott AWD Labs, and Scott AWD Written Tests. Again, yours names should be exactly the same names as those. All right, and notice again, I made that public, so I'll have to change that back over. I don't remember offhand how to do that. It's not hard. It's in your settings. I'll do that in just a bit. All right, so yesterday we went through and we did the Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3. I believe these are the copies that I sent to you, Donald, yesterday, so these don't have the answers in them. It's fine. All I want to show you is what you will be doing with these. That is, I'm going to take the completed tests. I'm going to pretend these are completed for Chapters 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to copy them over to, or move them to my written tests folder. All right? Once you've got those there, this is what you'll want to do. I will write down the steps for you as I'm doing them. So again, step 1. Put contents in the corresponding folder. And when I say put, I mean move or copy, etc. All right? The contents to the corresponding folder. That's what I just did. All right? And again, folder on desktop should be exactly same name and same caseness. So in other words, upper, lowercase, etc., as folder repo created under your GitHub account. All right, so I'm assuming we did that. We did step 1 here. So you went through and, you moved everything over like I just showed you right now. So you've done that, okay? Step 2. Open the folder. As an example, Scott AWD1100 written tests, or whatever folder you're using. So you open the folder. All right. Then right mouse click, in a blank part of what you just opened, and choose Git Bash here. That's exactly what I'm going to do for you right now. So I've opened the folder. And again, if you didn't see me do that, there's my folder, Scott AWD 1100 written tests. I'm going to double click on it to open it. All right. Then I'm going to right mouse click on it and choose Git Bash here. That'll open up what's called a Git Bash window. Next, I want you to type in git space init. When you do, you're going to notice there's going to be a new folder in here called .git. All right, so git space init, hit enter, and there's my .git folder. So let me write that step down. So from the command line, and that's this black screen with white writing, key in git space init, and then enter. So step 3. Again, I'm assuming you've got all these files in here. Type in git space add space period, which means add everything in the folder except that Git folder. So add these 3 files. So next, we will key in git, all lowercase, git space add space dot. You do want the dot, which means everything. All right, and hit enter. All right, so when I hit enter here, you may see something. You may only get back usually you're only going to get back your prompt like this. All right, so that's that. Next, key in git space commit space minus small m, which means the message is going to follow, space, then in double quotes, some kind of message. For here, I'm going to type in chapters 1 through 3 written tests. You can type in that or something similar. For your next set of tests, which will be on chapters 4 and 5, you would, of course, change it to git space commit space minus m space, and then in double quotes, chapters 4-5 written tests. So I've got that. I'm going to right mouse click and paste that in and hit enter. And it shows the 3 files. I'm almost there. Almost. All right. So what do I want to do next? Next, go back to github.com and copy this line. fact, you don't really even have to do it like that. I'll just give you the line. All right, I've got it here someplace. Here we go. Oh, where is it? Get remote. There it is. Where are we? Version. There we are. All right. So the next thing that you'll want to type in, so key in the following. In fact, you don't even have to go back to GitHub. Just key in the following. All right. I'm assuming you know the name of your GitHub repo. So git space, remote space, add space, origin space, then whatever your URL is. For instance, mine was Scott-AWD1100 written tests. So when you are doing the one for your labs, you'll change that to labs. When you are doing the one for homework, you'll change that to homework. When you're doing the one for HOTS, you'll change that to HOTS. All right, so I'm going to put in that right now. Hopefully I copied it and put everything in a correct manner. If I didn't, you're going to know right when I know. If you want to clear the screen at any time, just type in clear. All right, so I'm going to right mouse click and choose paste and hit enter. If you get your prompt back like I just did, you know it worked. Now, to verify it worked, you can type in git space remote space -v. And if you get something that looks like this, origin, your last name, hyphen, AWD1100, then either written tests or labs or homework or HOTS with fetch and push, it worked. We're almost finished. One thing I forgot to tell you. Mr. Stark figured this out yesterday, all right? And that is this. I'm going to put these in here as new commands.
I actually wasn't able to do it. I got errors at the end.
All right, we're gonna try it again.
Okay.
All right? And that is, this is what you should put in. And I'm going to put them in there as step 0. And whoops, not there. So with what we're working on, instead of step 1, I'm going to add these as step 0. And that's what you should have to put in. Git space config space ---- global space user.name space. And John, this may be the problem from yesterday. I don't know. Just put your regular name in there. So I can, for example, I'll just put in Jeff Scott. Don't you put in Jeff Scott. Not you, but I mean anybody else, because that'd be silly. Then put in the email address that you used to set up your account. For instance, mine was jpscott@rankin.edu. Yours, it's pretending that your name is Jeff Scott and you're a student at Rankin, yours will probably be something like jpscott@insiderankin.org. Now, what should happen, now again, Mr. Stark said it didn't work for him, but what should happen when you put those commands in, if you do that first, it should just give you back a prompt. That's it. When you do that from the command line. All right, so just to show you, I'm going to grab this whole thing here, and I'm going to put it in here. All right, and paste it in. I've already done this, but when I hit enter, there it is. There's my command line. And when I do it again, now I want to put in my correct email address. All right, why you guys are not rankin.edu, I don't know, but nobody's ever been able to tell me that. But that is my email, and I'm going to put in that. And again, all I get back is my, all I get back there is my prompt. Now, if you have successfully created your account out on GitHub and logged in, that should work. Now, John, if you try it again and it still doesn't work, please take a screenshot of your error, so your screen. So with it up there, hit your print screen key, save it. It'll probably save it as a ping file, .png, and send it to me. You may have to put it into a folder and zip the folder and then email it to me, because I think that our filter here takes any image file and throws it out. All right? But if you get an error, please do that. I will try to work with you on it and figure out what the problem is. All right? So now we've done all that stuff. So I went through and just redid, because I should have done that first. Step 0, Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, Step 4, Step 5, and I even verified this with Step 6. So I verified that Step 5 worked via this command. And that was git space remote space -v. All right? So if you've done all that stuff, then and I'm assuming that we've all done that now, then you type in git space push space -u space origin. Now, you will either put here main, or you will put here the one you put in should be this one. All right? And I mentioned this yesterday, but I'm going to say it again anyway. And that is that about a year to a year and a half ago, Microsoft bought GitHub. And they decided that using master was politically incorrect because it implied master and slave type of thing. So they changed it to main. All right? Since I created my account a long time ago, I do this. Some of the people last semester were able to do it this way, and I believe some of the people had to do it this way. Why that is, I don't know. All right, but I'm going to grab that command there, git space push space -u space origin space master. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. I am going to go back into here, okay? I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to paste that command in. Well, I thought I had it in there, so let me grab it again. Copy. Paste. There it is. I hit enter, and it says fatal. It says Scott AWD written test does not appear to be a Git repository. So either I typed something wrong or whatever, so let me go back and check it. Well, it looks like it's the same thing. But I'll go and click on it, and it still has that line there. So you can see that. I'll go back and reset this. It should have been correct to begin with. It should have been. I thought I put in the exact same thing. Whoops, try it again. Okay, it says origin, it already exists. Okay, there is a command so I can rechange this, and I'll do that right now. So I'm going to reset. All right, to mistakenly change the set origin, git remote set URL origin, so I'll do that. What I'll do too is, if I remember, and hopefully I will, is I will send you all these commands that I've got. All right, so let me see if I can paste that in here now. So git remote set URL. So that set it. Okay, git space remote space -v. Okay, it should be correct now. All right, so I'm going to do my git push again. You can use DOS key, and if you don't know what that is, the up arrow key that's underneath your shift key, your bottom right shift key, if I push this, I can get my old commands back. So, enter. And now it's working. Now it pushed everything. How do I know that worked? All right, I go back to here, and all I do is I refresh the screen, and there's my Chapter 1 written test, my Chapter 2 written test, my Chapter 3 written test. All right, now, for those of you who are watching this on a tape basis, and you guys who are watching it here, if you do it this way, fine. If you do it this way, and tomorrow you have any problems pushing this, then you will have to let me know. What I'm going to do tomorrow, all right, what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm not going to tape anything. I'm going to have this open, but I'm going to be working grading work from my other class. All right, and if there are any questions that anybody has, so if anybody has a question and something does not make sense, all right, then I will break in and say, hey, I want to mention this to the entire class. Otherwise, I'm not going to tape anything. But for, let's say it's 5 o'clock tomorrow, and person X who's watching this, watch this on tape, and they're like, okay, well, I got everything done and I want to turn this in. It isn't working. Then you're going to have to immediately email me. All right, and what I'll do is tomorrow, I've got an appointment tomorrow from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., but I'll be home by 6:15, and I will be up until at least 10 o'clock. So if you've got an error trying to do anything in there, I will have my computer on, and send me an email, and we can work together through this. All right? So what I will do, this took a little longer than I thought it would, but what I will do right now, let me clear this, is I've now got this program, this thing in here that's called AWD HOTS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to put my pretest in there. So I'm going to make a folder in there called Pretests. I'm not going to do that right now. What I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to give you, all you watching this, time to go in and try to create and do this test. It is 8:30. I'm figuring if I give you, since you've got the logic already for these, and this literally is about 5 lines of code. This is about 10 lines of code, and this is a little more than that, but this is all the code basically you need. At 10 o'clock, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to recreate this pretest. And I'm going to recreate it by putting it into the HOTS folder. And I'm hoping that we can all get that to work with no problem. If we can, we'll have a folder in here when we get done called Pretest. And then we will also create a folder in there that we'll call HOTS. And then tomorrow, that's where you will create your test. Hopefully everything I just said made sense to you. So for those of you watching this live, I'd like you now to take the next hour and a half and attempt to create these 3 programs. You are not turning this in, and I will definitely, all right, go through this with you. If you go, well, I'm not turning it in, I don't want to put it in my HOTS folder, then don't. Then make your own folder and put it there. Totally fine. All right, for those of you watching this live, do any of you have any questions on what I'm asking you to do? Anybody?
Nope.
All right. If you do have a question while you're working on it, break in. But what I'm going to do is right now, I'm going to come in and, let's see. So I am recording right now, and I can only do a stop recording. All right? So I thought there was a pause in here, but evidently there is no pause. I will pause. I'm doing this also in Camtasia. I will pause the Camtasia video right now that has been running for 30 minutes, and I will restart that when I start going through this. What I'm going to do, though, is, and what you guys are going to see on my screen, is I'm going to grade some of the homeworks from my afternoon class. All right? So I will be doing that. If any of you have questions while we're doing this, then just let me know. And I think what I'll do is I can come in here. Where is it? It's here. And under the share content, all right, I'm going to just put up a window. And that window will be the one with your test on it. I'm asking you guys, is that what you see on the screen right now is the test?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to try to change windows. Do you still just see the test on the window?
Correct.
Okay, so please remind me when we come back at 10 o'clock to go back and change the window. You see what I'm saying? Because otherwise you won't see what I'm doing, you'll just see this. So you've got about an hour and a half. Squeeze yourself a break in there or whatever you need, but at approximately, in fact, we can do it at 10:15. So at 10:15 a.m., I will do these 3 problems for you as a class. I will see you then.
Also, is there any way that just whenever you got a second, could you just send me that line that you put in to change your remote origin for?
Yes, I will.
Thank
In
you.
fact, what I'll do is I've got a thing that's called it's called Keep This, but it's got the major Git commands in it. I will send that out right now to everyone. All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just give me about 5 minutes and it'll be done. All right. So I'm taking right now. Camtasia will now be paused. All right, I'm back. I'm hoping all of you are back as well. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do each one of the problems. Before I start, is there somebody out there who tells me, can you hear me?
Yep. Can hear you.
And you see the picture of my granddaughter here?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Very cute.
All right. I appreciate that. That's not what I'm just saying. I just want to make sure. Okay. So I'm going to build these 3 projects for you right now, and I'm going to upload them to GitHub using that Scott AWD HOTS folder. So I'm going to create a new project. All right. And let's see. The first one, let's double check. Not that, sorry. It's the other class. Let's see. So is that. So is that. There it is. Oh, okay. The first one is the GUI that prompts for 4 test scores. Okay. All righty. So that will be a GUI. So that'll be Windows Forms. All right. And Windows Forms app. .NET, C#, next. Okay, I'm going to change the location in just a moment. And let's see, so I'm just going to call this, I think we were told to call this Pretest 01-01. Now it puts it in there by default. I am going to put it out to the desktop, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to see if I can put it out to the desktop, but here. So right there, that folder there. So that would be the path to it. All right, and the solution name, I will leave the solution name the same thing. So I'll have, I don't want multiple solutions in there. So I guess I'm just going to call this Pretests. All right, so I called the project name Pretest 01-01. I gave the location my HOTS folder, and the solution name will be Pretests. Hopefully I won't get any errors doing that, but we'll see real quick. All right, so there's my solution pretests. All right, and pretest 01, so that's a good start. And I'm going to grab the comment here. Again, I won't need any of these.
So I didn't make a new solution for my pretests. I'll be able to just make a copy of these and move them over to that HOTS folder. Right?
We're going to find out. How's that?
Okay.
Should you be able to? Yes. Will you be able to? Well, we've been having problems so far, so I'm not going to lie to you. I'll just tell you that anything is possible. What I'm more concerned with, with these pretests, you can do whatever you want to do with them. Those are for your benefit, But for tomorrow, I'm just more concerned when you take the test that you're able to upload it. Now, Michael, I would think that you and Donald and Mason would probably have less problems with that because you've gone through the other class and you've done a bunch of this before. But again, as always, if you do have problems, you're going to have to let me know. That's the best answer I can give you right now?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right.
That's perfect.
So here's the first problem. Again, we are supposed to enter 4 test scores and then display the average of the 4. So I'm going to come back to here just because I guess I'm in a colorful mood today. I will change my back color. I do hate how ugly it looks otherwise, so I'll make it a purple. There we go. And first thing I'm going to do is right mouse click on the name of my form, and I'm going to rename it, and I'll just call it FRM Test Scores. And it says, do you want to rename everything else? Yes. So it's renamed these 2 also, as you can see. And I'm going to do this very similar to the way I did the other ones the other 2 days. So I'm going to grab a button. I'm going to put it in here. All right. And I'm going to change, I won't change the name yet or the text, but I will come up to the size of the button, and I'll make that 16 bold and Arial. And then I will copy the button twice. So I will have both the, I have in here now both, all 3 of my buttons actually. I've got my, this will be right here my calculate button, so I will immediately change the name to BTN Calculate. All right, and I will change the text to ampersand calculate. The second one, I will change the text to ampersand clear. In fact, I don't want to see there. So C ampersand LEAR. And I will change the name to BTN clear. And the last one will be our old BTN exit. And I will change the text in there to E ampersand XIT. All right. All right, so that's the first thing. I want 4 test scores. I may need a little bit more room. I don't know yet, so I'm going to pull that down, make myself just a little bit more room. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add a single label right there. I'm going to immediately go in and change the auto size property from true to false so I can change this. All right, and then I'm going to come in and I will change the size just as I've done before to 16 bold and Arial. Ideally, this is going to be big enough. This is going to say test score 1. This will be test score 2. This will be test score 3. This will be test score 4. This, I don't even know if you were asked to do this, but I'm going to put in there something like total points. And then this will be average score. All right. So let's just take this from the top. So this will be LBL score 1. I'm just going to change all the names first. LBL score 2, LBL score 3, if I can spell. This will be LBL score 4, LBL total points, and finally LBL average score. All right, now let's go change the text. So this one here can say test score 1. Next will be, in fact, let me just copy this. So the next one will be test score 2. The next one will be test score 3. Then we've got test score 4. We'll have total points here. And this will be average score, or I guess average test score. All right? Okay, well that's looking good. The other thing I want to do, you don't have to do this, of course. I'm going to highlight all of these buttons, and I'm going to change their text alignment to middle right, so they're pushed over. There we go. Looking a little nicer, in my humble opinion. Now I'm going to come in and create a text box, and I'll move that over to here. That looks big enough to me. Again, I'm going to come in here and change my size. And I think I told you, I could have changed all the sizes at once. It doesn't matter how you do this. You don't even have to change your size. I do it basically so it's easier for you to view it. So that'll be test score 1, test score 2, test score 3, test score 4, total points, and average score. All right. Now, a couple things. I can do this in any order I want, but now that I'm looking at this for total points, I'm going to change the text there to total points out of 400. So somebody knows when they look at it. Again, you don't have to do that, but that's what I'm doing. All right. Let's go in, and it's actually looking pretty good, so I'm going to highlight everything. Right mouse click and choose lock controls. So that's done. Okay, I'm going to go to test score 1, and I'm going to change. So I call this LBL score 1, so I'm going to call this one TXT score 1. This next one will then become TXT score 2. The next one will become TXT score 3. TXT score 4. This will be TXT total points. And this will be TXT average test score. Again, I'm going to bring this up and then check and make sure I've renamed everything. So my calculate button, clear, etc. The form. As far as I can tell, I have an LBL average score, TXT, there I call that average test score, so I'll change that one. And LBL total points, TXT total points. So the only one I don't like is this one here. All right, I should have just called that TXT average score, not average test score. You don't have to make them line up, but I like it better when it works like that. All right, so here will be the code for my calculate button. Here will be the code for my clear button. Here will be the code for my exit button. As I've done with you before, I'm going to quickly come in here and type in exit. And there's that code which I gave you previously. I'm not going to go back and re-explain that code because I've done that a couple times. So there's that code. I'll put my comment up here that says code that runs when exit button clicked. So there's that. I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to run the program. I haven't moved it over yet or set my accept or clear buttons. I'll do all that in a minute. I thought I ran it. Try it again. Oh, there it is. Okay. So the only thing I put in so far is the exit. If I say no, I stay there. If I say yes, I'm gone. Good. Clear, I want to clear, and put the focus there. So for my clear, txt score1.text equals double quote. I've got 4 of these. So I'm going to do number 2, number 3, and number 4. Finally, I've got my txt total points. I'll make that double quote, txt average score dot text equals double quote, again, because I'm a little anal, I'm going to line this stuff up. And finally, I will say my txt score1 dot focus. Focus. All right. I can now go in. I guess I can add my comment here. And this one will say code that runs when clear button clicked. Let me save that and run it again. And let's see. Now, I am going to go back in just a minute, and I'm going to make this text box right here with a DDDD and that one there. I'm going to make those read-only in just a second. So I click clear, everything cleared, and there's my cursor. I click exit, and that's working. Okay, that's good. So let me go back to here, and let me take these 2 text boxes, highlight them both, go to my read-only in the properties window, and choose true. So they're grayed out now, which means I can now no longer change them. So the last thing to do then is this. All right. Now there's a lot of different ways that I can do this, just so you know. All right. In here, but I'm going to just do it the way I consider it to be the most straightforward. Again, you may not agree. So this is when the calculate button is, calculate button is clicked. I'm going to make 5 variables here. So int score1 equals 0. Int, notice I can use the IntelliSense now. Well, it at least picked up the first 2. All right, so we've got all those. Again, we're not doing any evaluation right now to make sure that what we're putting in here is valid. We will get into that. All right, so I'm going to say score1 equals convert to 2int32, and I don't want calculate. I want txt score1.text. All right, and I'm going to copy that 4 times. And this will become score2. This will, This will become score2, score3, score4, and I better change these as well if I want the right answers. 3 and 4. All right. I've got 5 scores here. I don't know why, but I'm going to change this to tote score. All right. And I'm going to make one more that's going to be a decimal, and I'll make this AVG score, and I'll set that equal to 0.0M. I'm going to show you something about that when we finish here in just a minute. You will notice something in just a second. So total score is equal to, and I don't need parens, score 1 plus score 2 plus score 3 plus score 4. All right? And then finally, the average score is going to be equal to the total score divided by 4. But I don't want to put 4 here. I want to put 4.0 here because that will actually preserve for me. All right? So 4.0 M. All right? So that will preserve the decimal for me. All right? You'll notice right now that these are gray. The reason these are gray is by default, this is what's done automatically for you in C#. All these are set to 0 by default. So if I remove this, notice what happens. See how that goes away? I'm doing it anyway. I've been burnt enough times in my professional programming career with stuff that should work a certain way but doesn't, that I'm just going to do that. All right? So 2 more things to do and I'm finished. Number 1, I want to say txt total points dot text equals total score dot toString. All right, and finally txt average score dot text equals avg score dot toString. And I want to make sure that I preserve that with 2 decimal places right there. So, to my knowledge, I am done. So let's take literally a minute or 2 to go through everything I've just done. All right, we built the interface, again, because I kind of am anal this way. I like stuff lined up. So I'm going to come back, and I'm going to take the text and center it. Also, I'm going to come in here and click on the form and set my accept button to BTN calculate, set my clear button, my cancel button to BTN clear, set my start position to center screen, and finally I want to come in and set my tab order with a view tab order, and that will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and another view tab order to make the numbers go away. All right, then exit is just what we've been doing. Hopefully you don't need that explained to you anymore. It will bring up a message box. That'll be the text. That'll be the title. Those will be the buttons. That will be the icon. If we click the yes from the yes, no, the program will exit. All right. Then again, for our clear button, we want to clear this and this and this and this and this and this and put the cursor back here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 statements to clear and 1 to focus. And you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that clear and 1 that focuses. All right. Finally, for our calculate button, and again, as I mentioned previously, there are umpteen different ways of writing this. All right, this is just the one that I chose. So I create, these are representing each one of these that's here. Those 4 things are going to represent what's in here, 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 and here. All right, these 2 will represent what are going to get put into the last 2 text boxes, the read-only ones. So we convert whatever you entered, because remember what you put into a text box is a string. So we convert each one of those to an int. Again, the program will break if either A, we leave the text box blank, or B, we put something non-numeric into the text box. All right, assuming we put something in there that works, then we add those 4 things up. We put that into total score. We take that total score and divide it by 4.0. And the reason, again, we've got the 0.0 in there is so we can preserve any decimal result. If you leave that out and just divide by 4, it's an int divided by an int. And even though we're putting it into a decimal, it throws the decimal portion away. This will preserve that. And then finally, we take our total score, those 4 test scores, and we move it here. And we take our average and we move it there. And the average we also format to 2 decimal places. Now, before I do this, I'm just going to come up with 4 random numbers. And what I mean is, I'm going to do this myself. So I'm going to say you took 4 tests. You got an 83, and then you got a 74, and then you got a 91, and then you got a 55. All right, so I'm going to just leave those like that. Okay, so probably I'll forget them when I run it, but that's okay. So let's just put in 4 numbers. All right, so it's centered now. So 83, 74, all right, 91, and 55. It was something like that. Calculate 303. I think that was right. 303, so you can tell 300 divided by 400 would be what? It would be 75 would be the average. Well, we've got 3 more points, so it's 75.75. That appears to be working. Our clear is working. I can try another one. So let's just put in something that's real easy to figure out. 60, 70, 80, and 90. So that's 130, 210, that's 300 right there. 300 divided by 4 should give us a 75, I believe, and it does. So that appears to be working. Clear works, and our exit works. All right. Now I did that in about 15 minutes. So my question to those of you watching, are there any questions on this? Anybody?
Nope, that was good.
All right, so not hearing anything from anybody, I'm going to put in the second one, so I'm going to close this one. All right, and I'm going to left mouse click on my solution. I'm going to right mouse click on it and choose Add New Project. This will be another Windows Forms app. C#, .NET we use the one we want, so next. And this one is to be called Pretest 01-02. It's already in the right place, I think. All right, so I'm going to go over there and click Create. All right, so now we've got that one. So let's again go over and copy our comment. This is the one that should even take less time, that does the converting miles to kilometers. So again, I'll come in here. Again, I don't need any of these things that are in gray, so I'm removing them. And again, I will put in my comment. You really should get used to putting, one or more comments into your code. It's just good practice to do that. All right? Whether you agree with that or not, and I've worked with enough potential employers that occasionally they will actually look to see how you document your programs. All right, so there's the first one. All right, I think I've got all my comments in there. We have this, which is going to be our constant. So I will put it right here. I like putting it down here. Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to declare and initialize program constant. There's only one, so I will make it singular. And I will say const decimal km per mile equals 1.6 m. You could make it a double and leave the m off. There really is no difference doing that. Either way would be just fine. All right, that's a good start. Let me do a file save as, or save all, and go back into design mode and let's build this thing. So, to start with, again, I will change the back color. Nice orange, that's nice. And this has got a very simple interface. All right, and that interface will be, first let's change the name of our form. Rename, and I'm going to call it FRM miles to kilometers. Again, you can call it something else. It's no biggie. All right, and I'm going to start by putting out a label. This time, let's do it this way. We'll do everything at one time. I'm going to put out a text box, and I'm going to put out a button. All right, the button I'm going to make quite a bit bigger here. That should be plenty big. Now I'm going to highlight everything. I did a Control A to highlight all of it. And I'm going to go to font, 16 bold, Arial. Okay, now they're all changed. Okay, so these will be my 3 buttons. It's a little big, but that's fine. Cut this down quite a ways. Let's come in here to this label, and let's change the auto size on it to false. All right, and let's make this a little bit bigger as well. And about there, and I don't know, about there, and I can knock this down quite a bit. All right, so and I forgot that's going to have to be wider because I've got 3 buttons in here. I think that's bigger than it needs to be, so let me make it smaller. In fact, let's just do it this way. I'm going to change this. I'm going to put in BTN calculate. I'm going to change the text on there to calculate. All right, and see how much I can squish that down. That looks good. It's actually even wider than it has to be, so that doesn't look bad. All right, so copy, paste, and paste, and voila, I have my interface built. So I'm going to highlight everything here with a Control A, right mouse click, and choose Lock Controls. Now my interface is locked into place, and we'll change the order around a little bit in here. What I mean is, let's come in, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do a View tab order, and I will change my tab order 0. That's going to be a read-only, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And another View tab order. Those are now fixed. All right, so let's change our stuff here. So this will say LBL miles, and it will say miles. And in fact, let's have it say miles, colon, not that you have to, it's no biggie one way or the other. This will say kilometers. And it looks like it has to be a little wider. Okay. Lock it again. All right. Actually, I want to take this now and right text align it. Text align, there we go. I don't know what I just did. So let me try that again. So I want to go to text align. There we go. Okay. All right. So this, again, this is LBL miles. That's LBL kilometers. All right. This will be TXT miles. This will be TXT kilometers. And this field right here, I'm going to make a read-only field by setting the read-only property to true. So that's done. This button already is BTN calculate. This one is going to be BTN clear. Now, if you're asked to do this, we can always come back to the calculate here and make that ampersand calculate to put the underscore there. This one we can make C ampersand LEAR for clear. And this one, which is going to be our exit, we can make E ampersand XIT and change the name of it to BTN exit. All right, I'm going to check and make sure I've named everything. And it looks like I have. Plus I've got LBL kilometers, TXT kilometers, LBL miles, TXT miles. So I like the way everything's looking. All right, now I can click on my form and I can set my accept button to BTN calculate. I can click on the form again and set my cancel button to BTN clear. And finally, I can go down to start position and I can change that to center screen. All right. So all we got left then is to put in our code, which isn't much in here. Again, for the exit, I will again go back as I did before and copy this. So there's that. For the clear, it's just 3 lines. It's clear, clear, and put the focus there. So it's txt miles dot text equals double quote, txt kilometers dot text equals double quote, and finally txt miles dot focus. Now, I'm going to do a file, save all, and run what I've got so far. It's not going to do any calculating. Oh, I've got to set my startup project. Sorry, I always forget. So here's Pretest 2, right mouse click, set as startup project, run it again, and there it is. So I can just put in some garbage here. Clear is working and my cursor is blinking there. Exit, no. Exit, yes. So all that's working. So the only thing left to do is to add my calculate, which will be when I click this, take the number that's here, multiply it by our constant, which is 3.14. And now that I think about it, nobody said anything. But what I'm going to do is, this is going to have to be a little bit wider. Oops, I didn't want to do that, so just this has to be wider. All right, something like that. I'm a little neat freak there. So why did I do that? Because remember, what the kilometers is supposed to say is something like 3.0 miles is 4.8 kilometers. I still may not have enough room for it, but you'll get the idea. All right, so I will lock my controls again, and let's put in the calculate code. All right, again, not that you have to do this, but this code runs when the calculate button is clicked. This code runs when the clear button is clicked. And finally, this code runs when the exit button is clicked. All right, so what I want to do is I want to come up here and I want to create a variable. And that variable, 2 of them. One, I'll make it a decimal miles, and I'll set that equal to, I can do this 2 ways. I can either say that it equals nothing, or I can give it a value, or I can actually set it to convert.to decimal and immediately do that for whatever I put into my txt, convert to decimal, txt miles.text. I'm going to just do it that way. All right. Then I'm going to say decimal kilos equal miles times my kilometers per mile. And then finally, I say txt kilometers.text equals kilos.toString, and I'll put that so that it is one decimal place. I think that's what they showed it on the page. And that's it. Let's run it, make sure it works. All right, so this is just going to say that. So what I'll say is, let's see, miles dot toString, and we'll put that again as an N2 or N1 plus, and I'll just put equal sign in there, equals plus, and since I'm running out of room, I'll move this down. Okay, so let's look at that. Run it. If I put in 3.0 here, I should get 4.8 there. So 3.0, 3.0, okay. Now, I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to fix that in a minute. All right, so I want this to say miles, and I want this to say kilometers. Again, we didn't have to do that. All right, I'm going to save that. One last thing, I'll center the text in here. So my text align, I'll set to center. One more file, save all, run this. All right, I can tell my tab order looks like it's working. Yep, looks good. So again, 3.0, I can hit calculate, but instead I'm just going to hit enter. 3.0 miles equal 4.8 kilometers. That looks good. I could hit clear, but again, remember, since I've set my cancel, I can hit escape, so that works. So I'm going to exit, and going back to the code then, let's start at the bottom. Anybody have any questions on the exit button or on the clear routine? Anything. You don't have to say anything, but if I hear nothing, I'm going to go on. All right. So here is the actual calculate routine. There's really only one executable line of code in there, and that's where we're taking our miles and we're multiplying it by our 1.6. All right. I will tell you, you may have already figured this out, but if I put in a big number here, so let's say I put in 1,000. Notice I'm running out of room, and that doesn't really look very good. So I'm going to exit here and go back to here. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to make this wider, make these both wider, and just because I think it'll look a little nicer, try to center these buttons somewhat underneath there. Now that should handle a pretty big number. Now if I put in a super humongo number like a gazillion, there is no gazillion, but you get my idea. All right, so now this is going to look better, I think. So 1,000, yeah, that looks a little nicer. All right, so last call. Any questions at all on this? All right, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to create the last one. So let me close all this up, close this up, and close this up. All right, so I'm again going to single click on my solution, right mouse click on here, and choose Add New Project. This one will be a console app. All right, for .NET, C#, next, and this one will be called Pretest 01-03. All right, and click Create. And again, since this is a console app, I don't have all my pretty stuff in here. I think I'll need System, and I know I'll use using static system.console. All right, now I'm going to come in here And I'm going to, in just a minute, I'm going to add my comments. All right. I'm going to put them right there in just a second. So, I'm not going to put this in there in the comments. I'm going to actually place that in there in just a bit. But that's what I'm going to add for my comment. There we go. Let's pretty it up a tad. That looks good enough to me. So I'm going to come in here and to start with, I'm going to declare and initialize my program constants. Just because I'm lazy, I'm going to copy these. I'm going to get an error when I copy it, but I don't care. I'll fix it in a minute. All right, so first I'm going to have const. I'll just make it an int. That's fine. Const int min grade equals 0. Oops. And let's just do this. Put that in there twice. Make that 100. Get rid of this. And this will be max grade. All right, so I've got my constants done. So as far as what's in here, I've included my constants. Now, I want to come in and I want to let the user enter a number grade, and I want to display the letter grade. So we know we're going to have two variables in here, number grade and letter grade. All right, so I'm going to start by saying string letter grade equals double quote, double quote. Again, it's gray because I really don't have to do that. If I leave it off, it's doing it for me anyway, but I like to put it in. It's my security blanket, my warm and fuzzy, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to come in here and say write, enter, number, grade, and I will put in here between 0 and 100. All right, there's other ways I could do this, but this is just how I'm going to. All right, and I'm going to then say int number grade equals convert dot toInt32, and I don't want to convert the letter grade, I want to convert readline. Now, and I'm going to, after I do that, I'm going to put in a read line. Why? Right now, the program's not done. It's far from done, but I'm going to save it, and I am going to run it. And I'm just going to, whoops, one day I'll remember to do this. Right mouse click, choose, set as startup, run it. All right, please enter a test score between 0 and 100, 45. That part is working. So now I can come back to the code that I gave you down here, and I can copy that in. So that's all of that. And then finally, I'm going to do a write line number grade plus number grade dot toString and one more write line that will be for the letter grade. And with that one, there is no toString, so just plus letter grade. All right, let's take it for a run and see if it works. $90. All right, A. 80, B, 70, C, 60, D, 50, F. All right. Now, I didn't check this, but I could also come in here and basically just say, oh, I do have it in here. So if it's less than, greater than 100 or less than 0, it's interesting, I put it in this order, but it could go in either order. All right, but if I do put in a number that's greater than 100, so I'll put in 1,000, it says grade is invalid number grade, which is good. And if I do it again and put in a negative number, I get the same thing. So it appears to be working. The only thing I want to mention to you is this. Now, what I'm going to show you right now is not on the test. You don't have to worry about it. That said, sometimes people just like to know. What if I wanted to take this program and put it into an infinite loop where it would just allow me to keep running one score, then another score, then another score, then another score? I can do that. Now, I'm going to show you it. Right now, I'm going to assume we want it in an infinite loop. So I'm going to put in here while 1 is equal to 1, which should always be true. All right, and I'm going to get rid of my ending curly brace for now. I'm going to grab every bit of this. I'm going to tab it, okay? And then I'm going to put in one more curly right there. All right? So why did I show you that? Just in case you were curious, because it's much easier to test this if I put it into a loop, so I can otherwise I have to keep running the program over and over and over again. So I'm going to do a file, save all. I'm going to run this just to show you the difference. Well, that was neat. It just blipped and left, right? While 1 equal 1. One of the reasons I do not like working with console programs when I can help it. All right, see if that fixes it. I don't know if it will or not. All right, so enter a number grade, so now I can put in 100. There it is. So I can do another one, 90. There it is, etc. You see the idea, hopefully. 80. All right, so I could keep testing that way. But now to get out, I must click the X here. Okay, not that that's a big thing. It really isn't. All right, but the other thing I might want to do is before I do this every time, I might want to clear the screen. So I'm always just running a brand new one. Okay, so again, 56. It's an F. 66. Whoops, 666. It's invalid. 66. It's a D. 76. It's a C. 86 is a B. 96 is an A. 106 should be out of range, and it is. And negative 106 should be out of range, and it is. All right? When you take this test tomorrow, the entire test, there are 4 problems on it. Every problem is a console application. There are no GUIs. The only reason I had you do GUIs here is after this, when we start getting into the later chapters, there will be console problems on the test. And there will be GUI problems on the test. We'll eventually transition over until I think everything will be GUI. All right? So I showed you this. So my question is, are there any questions on this particular problem? Anybody?
I was just going to ask if I could see the bottom of
Sure
the
can.
code again. Yeah, like right there. Perfect. Thank you.
So again, you will have 4 problems on this test. The first problem will basically ask you to input something like your name and then print it out. That's it. That's 25 points right there. All right. And the second and third problems, one of them is similar to the grades one that we did where we figured out the average that we just looked at. It's very similar to that. One of them, the last one, the longest one, is similar to the one that we did, if you remember, where we did, let's see, where is that? I think it's here. No, it isn't. Well, I don't know where I put that. But if you remember, when I created that thing for you where, I'm trying to find it. That is not it. Well, the problem that I did for you when we were practicing, where you would enter an item and then its tax rate, and you'd figure out what the tax total was and what the final total is. All right? It's remarkably similar to that problem. Again, I don't remember what the last one is, or the third one is rather, but I don't think, if you understand what we've done so far, you should be able to blaze through this test, probably do it in around an hour, and then get done. Now, the last thing I want to show you here. Okay, now I've got this thing that I created with these hots in here. There's pretests, and you can see my stuff is in there. Okay, everybody can see that. So what do I want to do now to push this thing up to my GitHub repository? First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to follow those same steps I gave you before. Double click this. All right, I'm going to right mouse click and choose Git Bash here. Then I'm going to say, right now there is no Git folder. All right, so I make one by saying Git space init, hitting enter. There is my Git folder. Now I say Git space add space dot, and that adds them to here. I say Git space commit space minus M space pretest number 1 and hit enter, and there's my stuff. Then I've got to go back into my GitHub repository, and again, there are different ways of doing this. As far as the order that I'm giving you, it doesn't really matter that much. But let's see, I want to find my AWD repository for HOTS. There it is. I want to grab this Git remote line that's right here and copy that to the clipboard. I'm going to come in and paste it in and hit enter. All right. And now I should be able to say Git space push space minus U space origin space. For mine, it's master. Hit enter. It thinks about it. There it is. If I go back to here now and I refresh, there's my pretests, and there's pretest 1, 2, and 3. So hopefully what I've shown you will work. All right, as far as the way that we've set all this stuff up. All right, if for some reason it does not, it will be your responsibility then to get a hold of me and email me, and if I have to, we'll have a separate Teams meeting with just the two of us to make sure that everything works. All right, now it is about a half an hour early, but that's what I had for today. So I'm asking this last thing, does anybody have any questions on anything we've covered in Chapter 1 or Chapter 2 or Chapter 3?
I don't have a question about that, but I have a question about the GitHub.
Yes.
Is the notes that you typed up earlier on like the step-by-step
Yes,
GitHub, are you able to email that to us?
I already did.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And not only did I email them to you, so let me show it to you. So I emailed you this. So it's got, this is how you can check to make sure it gets loaded. This is that setup thing. So I've got what it does, then the command. This is how you create the folder, how you add items to it, how you commit, all right? Or I'm sorry, git commit, yeah. And this is how you set the remote origin. This is how you check that. Michael, you'd asked before, so if you somehow put the wrong origin in there, this is how you can reset it. You will have to come in after you make your GitHub repository, because yours is private. You'll have to go out to this URL that's right here. All right? And like I said, I sent it to you. And if you do go out there, there will be, it's not hard, some steps that you follow that you will give me an invitation to your repository. If you don't, I can't read it. If I can't read it, I cannot grade it. All right, so if you follow these steps, it's not difficult to do. All right? And then I also gave you this because sometimes people like more than what I give them. I've got 4 articles here. This is a terrific website, freecodecamp.org. They got stuff about everything in there for IT. But here's an article, What is Git? A Beginner's Guide to Git Version Control. There's a Git and GitHub tutorial. Here's a Git crash course, and this one is from GitHub itself. Here is 50 commands in Git that you should know, including all the ones we've just gone over. This is how Git works under the hood. So this thing should have, let me double check. But this is what I sent out to you earlier. All right, good morning. Attached to this email is a basic Git command list I created at the bottom, and it's the exact same thing I just showed you. Now, I always send the stuff out as blind copies because a lot of times people don't like other people to see their emails. All right, but let me double check. So if I click on this and I click reply, well, I'll tell you what, why don't, let's see. I'm going to resend this, and I'm just going to put all of you in there because I'd rather give it to you twice than not at all. All right, so these are your emails. Still got to go in and set up an address list, which I didn't do, so I've been doing it like that, which works. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're all in there. Click send. Yeah, there is an attachment, so thank you. Don't send. So let me add the attachment. Browse the computer. Basic Git command list. I always double check to make sure I'm sending you the right one. So I preview it. There it is. It's there. So send. So if you didn't get it before, you should have it right now. All right? So with that said, hopefully that answered the question that John had. Anybody else have any questions before I just let you loose for today? Anybody? Take your time with the test. If you have questions, I will be online, as always, from 8:05 until 11:15 or 11:55 rather. And I will, again, like I did before, I will just have the test page itself up there. All right? There's 2 pages of front and back. And it's just because for the last program, there's a copy of the way it's supposed to look when you run it. That's why, it's actually very short. So if you have no other questions then, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day. Please feel free to email me. If you have a question tonight, please feel free to email me if you're taking the test tomorrow and you have a question, and that includes trying to push this all back up to GitHub. And last thing I'll tell you, let's just assume, let's just pretend for a minute. All right. And Michael, I'll just pick on you if that's okay. And I'll say, let's pretend you've done this. You created this hot thing. You've got it in there, but for whatever reason, you can't push it for the life of you. It just won't work. So what do? Well, if I look at this, if I right mouse click on it, I choose properties, you'll notice it's 497K. What that means is it's not even a meg. So worst case, you could always take this, right mouse click on it, do a send it to a zip file, and email me the zip file. Now, I prefer you don't do that, because one of the things you're supposed to get out of this class is how to use the version control tools of Git and GitHub. But as a last resort, if you can't get your stuff to work, you can do that as well. All right? And finally, you don't have to do this, but one thing I do want you to do is after you do that, from the example I showed you before from this, make sure you do this and send me an invite to that. All right, you can send me an invite when you finish, and then also send me an email saying, hey, I finished the test and I sent you an invite, because then I can double check and make sure I got it. Even though you're both sending me an email that's saying you're doing an invite, and the invite itself sends me an email. But if for some reason you send me an email that says, hey, I sent you an invite, and I don't get it or it doesn't work, then I can get back to you and let you know. All right? Again, as always, if you have any questions between now and tomorrow, please email me. If you have any questions while you're taking the test, please ask. All right? If there are no other questions or no questions, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good rest of the day.